Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th episode of Retro Horror Games Quest. Today, we will be checking out a classic that I've actually never played before, and that's Alone in the Dark for MS-DOS. I'm pretty excited to tackle this one. This is a classic that I've always wanted to experience. And this series is just a perfect reason to take the time and do so. I hope you're not afraid of the dark. Alone in the Dark, developed by Infogrames, was released in 1992 for the MS-DOS and later in 1994 for the 3DO. I was always confused by that company's name. For a very long time I thought they were called Infogames, but I'm sure there's a lot of rants about it on other videos about their games, so I'm just gonna skip over it. But yeah, thankfully the game eventually made its way onto Steam, which made recording footage for this video a delightful breeze. At the beginning of the game you are given a choice between two playable characters. Edward Carnby, who would later become the series' main character, or Emily Hartwood, who is more directly connected to the events in this particular story. Since Carnby will eventually become the main character, I decided to pick him. Not that it changes much. Apart from the narration and the character choice screen, and the in-game model that you control, there are really no changes, so just pick whatever character you want to look at for the next few hours. Oh, why am I wearing these glasses? I'm fighting some kind of condition and I didn't want to worry you guys. Well, it's a bit dark here, so I might as well just remove them. What? Yeah! Pick between this or this. The horror started early in this one. But making fun of 1992's polygon technology aside, let's delve a little bit more into the motivation of both of these characters. Carnby is a private detective who is hired to investigate a mansion called Derceto and find some strange antique piano. After looking at a police report concerning the Derceto house, Carnby learns that the current owner, Jeremy Artwood, committed suicide not long ago. Studying the house even more, Carnby learns about other murders, curses, and just absolute lunacy related to the house. And so, armed with his knowledge, and not much else, Carnby goes into the mansion. As for Emily Hartwood, if her name was not enough to hint you at it, she is directly related to Jeremy Hartwood, the guy who lived and committed suicide inside the Derceto house. Jeremy being her uncle. She's sure the mansion's history exercised some kind of influence on her uncle, as she cannot believe he would end himself otherwise. And so, she decides she has to go to the Derceto house to find if her uncle left a suicide letter or any other kind of clue related to his actions. The first thing I noticed while listening to both characters narrating their story was precisely that. The voice acting.
On my door, a dull brass plate says, Private Detective.
While the voice acting isn't great for the most part, it's really cool how much of it is in this game. It adds a lot to the atmosphere, even though some of the performance is also removed from it. It achieves quite a good balance, I would say.
The attorney's letter came as a deep shock to me. My Uncle Jeremy had died by his own hand.
And thus, independently of which character you choose, you will be on your way into the Derceto mansion. As you approach the large house, you get a glimpse of someone picking at you. It's a frog! Wait, no, that's not the one I meant to describe. Even though the frog is quite spooky too, don't get me wrong, but from an upstairs window, someone seems to be peeking at you as you approach. Someone with very frightful hands. Spooky. The frog might be spookier though. It's still a little unclear to me. You see the character making their way into the attic, where Jeremy took his life, and the antique piano supposedly resides. Some angles here are pretty spooky, as I showed you before. Gotta say though, some of this hand-drawn background art is pretty cool looking. In the attic is where you finally take control of your character. The game controls like most 3D survival horror games would do for the next few generations. Tank controls. And by that, in case you are not familiar, I mean that you press the up arrow to move forward, and the side arrows to turn your character in place. So, like a tank would control, as the name implies. There seems to be a great divide between people who hate tank controls and people who love them. I myself fit more into the second group. After this, though, is where things start to differ from what came after. Your character can only have one action equipped, which means you will be looking at the in-game menu a lot of times when you want to do something else. Let me explain how it works. By pressing enter, you will be shown the in-game menu. This menu shows you your inventory and something called the actions menu. Inside the actions menu, you have, initially, 4 options: fight, open and search, close, and push. Fight is pretty self-explanatory, it's used for fighting, and can also be activated by equipping a weapon in an inventory. More on fighting controls in a little bit, let's get the actions out of the way first. Open and search is used for opening closet doors or other compartments, and searching the environment for items. You do not need to use this action to open doors, they will open automatically on touch, which can be annoying if you're in the middle of a fight. Close is for closing doors, which you actually need to do manually. And push is for pushing objects. We move around in the attic for a bit, grab a lantern, lovely, and whoa! What in heaven's hell is that thing? I have no idea. It looks like an enraged version of Hunter from Spyro the Dragon. Well, guess we are forced to fight, so let's go over how it works. You hold space to activate whatever mode you picked in the action menu. In this case, you hopefully picked fight, because there were times where I thought I was in fighting mode, but I was actually in search mode and started poking the enemy. Embarrassing. Don't tell anyone, please. So, while in fighting mode, you can hold one of the direction keys to perform a different attack. These attacks vary depending on which weapon you have equipped. Heavy attack has a warm-up time, which means that you can actually cancel attacks by letting go of the directional key and back away if you need, which is pretty sweet. Sometimes though, if you're backed into a corner or against a wall and have a slow weapon equipped, good luck trying to land any hits on the enemy. You're in a damaging loop, baby! Better try to equip a faster weapon and pray, I guess. Oh wait, this is not Sweet Home. You can pray in this one. Check out the previous episode for context. When you do get into a rhythm, the fights become actually pretty easy, even if you don't have any weapons equipped. Kinda crazy how they just throw an enemy at you in the first minute of the game, huh? I think they're trying to show that this game is not playing around, and let me tell you, it's not. I mean, if you're unfamiliar with this game, we just got out of a pretty dangerous fight, and it's only been 2 minutes tops. And guess what? Yeah, there's another one. Relentless. Yeah, this game is not easy on your first run. There's honestly a little too much trial and error for my likings, but considering that you can save the game at any time, it lessens the blow of your untimely and unavoidable deaths a bit. It's still annoying, and being able to save at any point does take away from the feeling of danger, but I'm glad it's there considering. Anything can kill you in this game. Opening a door? You're dead. Walking down a corridor? You're dead. Walking down another corridor? Are you stupid? You're dead. Read a book? Well, yeah, you're definitely dead. Heed my words. Save, and save often. Unlike the rest of the trial and error going on, the first encounter with the cheetah-looking guy can actually be avoided on your first run with a little bit of observation. When Emily is going through her motives to visit the mansion in the character select screen, she mentions that her uncle blocked the attic windows before killing himself.
But why did he, according to the police report, block the loft window with the old wardrobe?
She wonders why, but we just realized why. Hunter the cheetah here. I believe it takes around a minute for the creature to come crashing into the room, so you can use that minute to equip the push action and push the wardrobe in front of the window, saving you the hassle and potential loss of health points. The zombie is not really avoidable on your first run unless you do it by mistake. It's not apparent that a zombie will pop up from the floor. On subsequent playthroughs though, you can just push the chest over the trapdoor and you're all set. Or well, if you play the game after this, I guess you already know that, right? Sorry, spoilers, I guess? It's not really a spoiler. Please don't kill me, thanks. Actually, a lot of the enemies can be avoided this way, which makes your second playthrough fun as well. It does not, however, excuse the trial and error. Later on in the game, without spoiling, you will gain another action out of nowhere. It's called Jump, and it's used for jumping. Yeah, there's actually a little bit of awkward platforming going on near the end of this game. It's a bit frustrating, but not too much. It's not horrible. Back in the attic, though, you can explore around to find a rifle inside the chest, which would have been useful a few seconds ago, and you can also find your first book. As Emily mentions during her intro, the mansion has a lot of ancient texts, and a lot of them are directly connected to its history. And finding them and learning about the mansion's past was pretty fun. Every book and text you find has accompanying voice acting. Like the intros, some of them are okay, some are pretty bad, but I like the overall tone that they bring into the game.
Who had been turned into stone. He spoke to his companions.
There are some fun accents too.
Holy Christ! Cried Captain Cortez.
After some books, you will quickly realize that this game is heavily influenced and directly mentions the works of H.P. Lovecraft.
Of the cult of the Old Ones.
There are mentions of the Great Old Ones and Cthulhu, to name a few examples, and as a big Lovecraft fan that wishes his particular brand of cosmic horror would influence more movies and games, I was thrilled when I realized this. Even the game over screen looks Lovecraftian as f***. After the attic shenanigans, you are finally free to explore the mansion. Throughout your adventure to find a way out, you will have to solve some pretty fun puzzles. There's really nothing nonsensical about them, unlike some other games that I looked at in the series past. Every clue is there, and if you're missing something, you can be sure that you're just overlooking it or you have not found it yet. Maybe go reread some of the books, maybe we'll find a clue somewhere. The enemies are varied, but unfortunately they don't look very good. Yes, I know, it's a 1992 game, and the main characters also look like sentient vomit, but the enemies especially do take away from the overall creepiness and atmosphere, because, well, the main characters only look weird if you're looking at their face directly. There are a few exceptions, but in general, they look too cartoony and out of place. Sometimes I feel like this game is treading very close to the silly line. Thankfully, it never falls over 100%. As the first 3D survival horror, we should also talk about the camera, right? Well, here we can experience the first horror game to use a static camera placement system. To me, this goes hand in hand with the tank controls. In fact, static cameras without tank controls just don't work for me. The angles are pretty good, and I thoroughly enjoyed exploring the mansion. Overall, I had no problems with the camera system. Of course, this would not be a survival horror without inventory management. This game uses a weight system instead of inventory slots. If you can't pick up an object, it will tell you that you are holding too many things. If you really need to pick up whatever it is, you can choose to place another object down or throw it. Throwing is especially fun because some items will break, and who knows, you might find something inside. Oh, also they're fun to throw at enemies. Health items are, for some reason, usually inside of some other box, so you grab the health kit, open it up to reveal a flask, which probably contains whiskey or something, and then drink its contents to regain some health. But now, well, you have two useless objects in your inventory. The empty health kit and the empty flask. My question is, why? Why not just have the flask by itself, or have the health kit be usable? Such issues will probably never have an answer, so discard them we must. Health also does not work like most games. I don't know if there's a limit to your health points, but you start with 20 and you can ingest any health item immediately when you find them to gain more. I finished the game with 36, but I did have more than that at some times. I guess this is also good to fight against a limited inventory. No need to worry about health items, just use them and discard the empty recipients. What about weapons? There's a nice variety of weapons in the game. You can find a rifle, a pistol, knives, swords, etc. One or two weapons do break on use, but it's not really annoying because you have a lot of them. And some of them can also be used for puzzles, which is quite interesting. Ammo is scarce, as it should be in survival horror, so save those for the critical confrontations. You don't want to try to go mano a mano with some of the later enemies, trust me. The sound and music are good. Sound is pretty good, I would say. The floor creaks when you step on it. Some creepy ambient noises are going around. It gives the game a nice atmosphere. The music, though, is a little bit hit or miss. Some of the music is pretty good and complements the ambience, while some clashes a bit with it. But nothing as horrible as what I've experienced before in the series. It's just there, I guess. I don't have too strong of an opinion about it. And well, finally, as for the story, it does go into some interesting places. I wouldn't say it has too much of a satisfying resolution, and the motives that drive the characters to the mansion never seem to be addressed after the intro, but overall, I did enjoy it, especially the whole background story of the mansion. And that's Alone in the Dark. Is it scary? I wouldn't say so. I'm sure that at the time it really did freak out some people, but to me it really didn't do much. Well, I played a lot of horror games, so at the time this was a new thing. It is kind of creepy at times, and it does have a nice atmosphere. It is definitely a horror game. There's no question about that. And I really love the connections to Lovecraft's works. I give Alone in the Dark for MS-DOS 3 stars out of 5, with a survival horror fan required play score of yes. The game might have aged a little bit badly, but it is still a definite must play for the survival horror fan. I did enjoy my time with it, although I cannot lie and not tell you that I'm not disappointed. Maybe I built it up to be something that it is not in my head over the years, but I did really feel underwhelmed when everything was said and done. It's still an integral part of the survival horror history, and I'm really glad I played it. So next time on Retro Horror Games Quest, we will be taking a look at Darkseid, a game I have zero knowledge of, except that I know that I've read that name somewhere, but I don't remember where. It will be nice to delve into something unknown after playing a couple of classics. So did you enjoy this video? Let me know by clicking the like or dislike button down below. If you enjoyed it and want to see more Retro Horror Games Quest episodes, you can do so by visiting my channel or clicking the playlist in the description box below. And do you want to know when the next episode is released? Then please subscribe and click that notification bell if you really want to get notified whenever it drops. And also, did you ever play Alone in the Dark? When? And what are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments. And an absolutely huge thank you to my patrons, showing up on the screen. Let me know what you thought about this one. So thank you for being scared again with me tonight, and I hope to see you here for the next episode of Retro Horror Games Quest.